Hello, my wonderful students. Good morning to you all. How are you doing today? You are welcome to this amazing agricultural science class this morning. I believe you are all doing well, and I believe you are prepared for this morning class. I implore us to cooperate very well, avoid distraction as we continue with the class as usual. Kindly get your writing materials, your notebook, your biro, and get seated while we continue. Remember, my name is Vera Okenye, a Greek science tutor. As usual, we'll be looking into an interesting topic together again this morning, titled Soil Fertility. Soil fertility. That is a topic for today's class. Before we look into the meaning of soil fertility, let's see the objective of this topic. We all know what objective is. Statement that describe what you are expected to know at the end of every topic, at the end of every class. As regards this topic, soil fertility, you are expected to be able to define soil fertility, outline the ways of maintaining soil fertility, explain the ways outlined above. That is, the ways of maintaining soil fertility. You are expected to explain each of these ways of maintaining soil fertility. Then let's go to the topic proper, meaning of soil fertility. Soil fertility. That is the main topic for today, the meaning of soil fertility. Before defining soil fertility, I would like to remind us the meaning of soil. Soil is simply defined as the thin surface of the outermost layer of the earth crust which supports the growth of plants. The thin surface of the outermost layer of the earth crust which supports plant growth. That is the simple definition of soil. Soil supports the growth of plants. Take note of that. Why we see soil fertility as the ability of the soil to supply adequate nutrient to plants when needed. The ability. I will underline the word ability and supply. The ability of the soil to supply adequate nutrient to plants when needed. Meaning, not all soils are able to supply plant nutrients. Some soils are termed infertile when they are unable to supply plant nutrient, while some soils are extremely fertile because they are able to supply plant nutrient. A fertile soil must be of good structure, texture, easily tilled with adequate organic matter. Organic matter is more like the fertilizer that aids the plant growth. That aids what? The plant growth. Remember I said a soil is fertile if crops grow well on it and gives high yield. A soil is termed fertile if crops grow well on it and give high yield. Remember that an infertile soil is unable to support good plant growth and high yield. So when soil is unable to give rise to good plant growth and high yield, such soil is termed infertile. Such soil is termed infertile. When a piece of land is being cultivated for 2 or more years, the fertility drops. This is because the crops grown on it remove large quantity of nutrients from the soil. When crops are grown on soil, they remove large quantity of nutrients from such soil. The soil then must be maintained. The soil must be maintained so as to continuously obtain high yield. Every farmer is encouraged to maintain his soil in order for plants to grow well. If the soils are not maintained, plant growth will reduce in subsequent planting. If the soil is able to give good crop yield in a particular year, within the period of 5 years, the nutrient of the soil will reduce if the soil is not properly maintained. That takes us to the ways of maintaining soil nutrients. The first one we have here is mulching. 2, cover cropping. 3, bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. We have crop rotation, manure, and manuring. These are the 5 ways, simple 5 ways of maintaining soil fertility. For the soil to continuously give adequate nutrient to plants when needed, the farmer needs to maintain the soil. By applying these principles, these farming practices, we aid the soil fertility. We continuously increase the fertility of the soil. Because when it is not maintained, the yield will be poor. The farmer definitely will run at loss. The crop yield will definitely be low. So as such, the farmer is usually encouraged to maintain the soil fertility. Ways of maintaining soil fertility, we have stated them. Let's see to them one after the other. 1, mulching. Mulching is the process of placing plant materials on the soil surface to prevent direct ray of the sun and evaporation. Mulching is a process of placing plant materials on the soil surface to prevent direct ray of the sun and evaporation. Take note of the word mulching. The farmer placed plant materials. This is a farmer precisely placing plant materials on the surface of the soil to prevent evaporation. Mulching materials include, we have dry grasses, wood, sawdust. These are examples of mulching materials. Why the plant materials placed on the surface of the soil to prevent evaporation is called mulch. Don't forget the word mulch. Mulch. The process of placing the plant materials on the surface of the soil is called mulching. You can see this farmer placing these materials. It can be done immediately after planting your crops. It aids the farmer to prevent evaporation, direct sun ray that will result to evaporation, and as well prevent surface runoff. That is what mulching can do in our farmland. Let's look to the advantages of mulching. 1, mulching reduces evaporation, which you have said. It reduces evaporation. We know what evaporation is, direct escape of water to the atmosphere. We have, it increases activities of microorganisms. It increases the activities of microorganisms. 3, it conserves soil moisture. It conserves soil moisture. The moisture that would have been evaporated to the atmosphere is being conserved when mulching takes place, when the farmer applies mulching. In that case, the nutrient of the soil is being retained. The microorganisms that aid in binding the soil particles together are not destroyed. Thereafter, it increases the activities of these microorganisms. Microorganisms aid in binding soil particles together. Remember that. When you take your mind back to the topic soil, you'll be able to know the function of microorganisms to soil. It prevents erosion. You know what erosion is? The wearing away of the top layer of the soil. The wearing away, washing away of the soil particles. The soil particles are retained when mulching is applied to the soil. It prevents erosion. When mulch material decomposes, they increases the soil fertility. This is very important. This is the most benefit of mulching. The mulch materials placed on the surface of the soil, the sawdust, the dry grasses, the wood, they decompose over time and add nutrients to the soil. We are going to treat a topic later titled manure and manuring. That is under green manure. Plant material decomposes. When plant material decomposes, they add nutrients to the soil to increase the growth or the yield of the plants. So mulch material decomposes and add nutrients to the soil. It increases the soil fertility. Finally, it improves the soil structure. It improves the soil structure. I believe we are following. Remember, we have defined soil fertility as the ability of soil to supply adequate nutrients to plants when needed. We have stated ways of maintaining soil fertility. Mulching, that is what we are treating now. And we have defined mulching as the process of placing plant materials on the surface of the soil to prevent erosion, to prevent evaporation, and to prevent direct ray of the sun. Let's look to the next one, cover cropping. Cover cropping is as well another way of maintaining soil fertility. Cover cropping. This involves the planting of creeping or legume crops. Better use leguminous crops that can protect the soil surface from direct impacts of sun and rain. It involves the planting of creeping, and we underline the word creeping crops. Creeping crops. Crops that cover the farm layer or the farm surface when they are about to produce. You see these crops spreading around the farm generally. The entire farm, they cover the land before they can produce. They are allowed to spread. They are allowed to spread. So they are generally called creeping crops. And most leguminous crops are as well creeping crops. We have an example like melon, beans, groundnut, and so on. We have beans here, right? We can see different plants that are creeping crops. Groundnut is a creeping crop. Beans is a creeping crop. They are used in covering the soil surface. They are called cover crops. They cover the soil surface from direct impact of sun ray. Direct impact of sun ray and as well rain. Okay, let's see the advantages of cover cropping. 1. Cover crops prevent surface runoff just like mulching. Cover crops prevent surface runoff just like mulching. They prevent surface runoff, prevent evaporation. As well, you remember in mulching we said the materials decomposes and add nutrient to the soil. Likewise, cover cropping. The dead leaves of cover crops decomposes and increase the soil fertility. When the dead leaf of cover crop decompose, they add nutrients to the soil. Take note of that because they are plant materials. And that as well fall under green manure. Then leguminous crops add nitrogen to the soil. Leguminous crops, we know legumes, beans, groundnut, and leguminous crops, they add nitrogen to the soil. Cover crops prevent leaching of soil nutrients. What is then leaching? Leaching. Removal of plant nutrient. Washing away. The washing away of soil nutrient. When the nutrients in the soil are washed away, that process is called leaching. So when cover crops are planted, it prevents this leaching. It prevents the washing away of the soil nutrient. Take note of the meaning of the word leaching. That is the washing away of the soil or plant nutrient. Different from erosion. Erosion wear away the top layer of the soil, wash away the soil, while leaching is a washing away of the nutrient. Leaching washes away the nutrient, while erosion washes away the top layer of the soil. Let's take note of that. Very, very important. All right, before we go to the next one, I will encourage us now to pick up our pen, take your note, write out 3 leguminous crops that act as cover crops. 3 leguminous crops that are cover crops. Just in a minute, quickly write it. 3 leguminous crops that are cover crops. All right. I know we have written it. That's very good of us. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next one. Shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation and bush fallowing is as well another way of maintaining soil fertility. Shifting cultivation and bush fallowing. This involves the farmer moving from one plot of land to another. In shifting cultivation, the farmer moves from one plot of land to another when the land is no longer fertile. The land is no longer fertile. The farmer grows crops on a piece of land until the land is no longer productive. The land is no longer productive. Then the farmer abandoned the land and allowed it to go back to bush for 2 or more years before it is used again under shifting cultivation and bush fallowing. The farmer will allow the land to rest because the plants that are grown on the land for a long time has used up the large quantity of nutrient. Now it is giving low yield. The farmer then will move from that particular land, abandon that land, allow it to rest for 2 or more years for the fertility of the soil to be restored before coming back to that land. Then, the system of leaving unproductive soil for fertile soil is known as shifting cultivation. In a simple way, you leave unproductive soil for a fertile soil. Then it is referred to as shifting cultivation. You are moving from one plot of land to another unproductive soil for fertile soil is shifting cultivation. You allow the land to rest in order for the land to restore its fertility. Let's see. These are shifting cultivation farmers. You see, this is seen as plot A. Plot A, which has been cultivated for a very long time, has been used. Then the farmer abandoned this to another land, growing crop in another land. The farmer had to leave this for another land. This is plot B, seen as plot B. This is plot B. Plot A, plot B. The farmer leave plot A for plot B because plot A is no longer productive. Then has to move to plot B. When the fertility of the soil in plot B has been restored, the farmer definitely will come back to that plot B. Take note of that. Shifting cultivation and bush fallowing. 1. Let's see the advantages. It helps to restore soil fertility naturally. No fertilizer is added. No farmyard manure is added. The fertility of the soil is restored naturally. It is simple, cheap, and effective method of restoring soil fertility. The farmer does not need to buy fertilizer, inorganic manure. The farmer does not need to buy any form of inorganic manure. What he does is to allow the farm to go back to a bush and come back to it because the leaves decomposes and add nutrient to the soil. Natural fertilizer. The soil is restored. The soil fertility is restored naturally. The plant cover helps to check erosion. When you look to this farm, abandoned, is bushy. These plants you are seeing here drops and it covers erosion. It protects the direct impact of sun and protects direct impact of rain. So erosion is prevented under shifting cultivation. Let's take note of that. Disadvantages of bush fallowing and shifting cultivation. It is difficult and expensive to clear bush. You know, the farmer had to leave the land for a while. It will go back to bush. The farmer had to leave the land to go back to bush before coming back to it. For the farmer to clear up the bush again will be a difficult task. it will be a difficult task. Then, it is difficult and expensive to clear the bush. 2, it is difficult where there is large population. It is difficult where there is large population. Where there is large population, the land might not be enough for the farmer to move from one place to another because the land will be fragmented. It will be shared among the members of the family, or if it's communal owned. If the land is communal, or remember land tenure system where you have communal and individual. When the land is owned by community, then the land will be fragmented. It will be shared among the community members. So the farmer might not be able to move from one land to another. So shifting cultivation and bush following is usually difficult to practice where there is large population. 3, it can only be practiced where the land is abundant. The land must be abundant for a farmer to practice shifting cultivation. Maybe the farmer has up to 5 plots of land. Okay, take for example 4. Within the period of 4 years, the farmer can be moving from one farmland to another before coming back to plot A. A farmer that has plot A, B, C, D. These are the 4 plots of land. If cultivate the first plot in year 1, then another plot of land year 2, cultivate another one year 3, cultivate another one year 4. At the 5th year, the farmer can thereafter come back to year 1 again. Come back to then, before then, the land, the fertility of the soil would have been restored. The fertility of the soil is restored within the period of 4 years. Then move down to year 2 again. So it can only be practiced where you have abundant land for the farmer to move from one piece of land to another. Take note of that, very important. Where there is low population as well, you can only practice it where you have low population. Where the population is low, then it will encourage the farmer to move from one plot of land to another. Cannot be practiced where population is large. Take note of that. Okay, let's see crop rotation. Crop rotation is still another way of maintaining soil fertility. If you want your crop to grow well, if you want the yield to be high, you need to practice crop rotation. It involves the planting of different crops. The planting of different crops on a piece of land. I will underline the word different crops. Take note of the word different crops. Different crops are planted on a piece of land so that the crops follow themselves in a definite circle or order. The crops follow themselves in a definite circle or order. This is a crop rotation farm. I encourage us to look at it very well. Different crops. In plot A, you have plot 1, plot 2, plot 3, plot 4, plot 5. Subsequently, the farmer plants different crops. Different crops, different year. Leaf crops, legumes. If you see circle 1, you have leaf crops, legumes, you have basic soil crops. You have different crops on this piece of land in circle 1. In circle 2, the same thing. Different crops are planted on a piece of land. Under crop rotation, in practicing crop rotation, it has principles. Deep-rooted crops are planted alongside with shallow-rooted crops. There are crops that has deep roots, like cassava is a root crop, right? So it should be planted alongside with shallow-rooted crop like maize. Some cereal crops are shallow-rooted crops. Do not absorb nutrients so much in comparison with deep-rooted crops. Deep-rooted crops absorb more nutrients than shallow-rooted crops. So plants that takes up high nutrients are planted alongside with crops that takes low nutrient. So in practicing crop rotation, follow the principles of faith, which states that deep-rooted crops are planted alongside with shallow-rooted crops. You don't plant deep-rooted crop with deep-rooted crop. Take note of that. It's very, very important for you to know the principles of crop rotation. Principles of crop rotation. Very important. Please take note of the principles of crop rotation, that deep-rooted crops are planted alongside with shallow-rooted crops. Let's see advantages of crop rotation. It facilitates effective and economic use of land from year to year. Effective and economic use of land from year to year. Because different crops are grown, different crops are grown on a piece of land such that the crops follow themselves in orderly manner, right? Different crops are grown. If you are practicing crop rotation, take note of that different crops are grown. So land is mainly, a small area of land is mainly used in cultivating many crops. Then legume crops enrich the soil by adding nitrogen. The planting of crops with different feeding habits reduces soil depletion. It reduces the depletion of the soil nutrient. Take note of that. Disadvantages of crop rotation: it may lead to low yield if the rotation is not properly planned. If the farmer did not plan the rotation properly, it may lead to low yield. 2, it may be expensive, especially the purchase of fertilizer. The farmer has to be buying fertilizer frequently in order for the crop to have adequate yield. Okay, the next one is manure, which is the last. Manure and manuring. What is manure? Many of us have heard of the word. You have to add manure to your farm, to your crop, in order for it to have adequate yield. Let's look to the meaning. It refers to any material which is capable of improving the soil fertility when applied to the soil. Material that is capable of increasing the soil fertility when applied to the soil. They are capable. The word fertility, capable. Any material capable of increasing soil fertility when applied to the soil is called manure. We have 2 types of manure. We have organic manure and inorganic manure. Take note of that. Let's look to organic manure. They are plant and animal residue. Plants and animal residue which the farmer can add to the soil to maintain soil fertility. Types of organic manure: we have green manure, farmyard manure, and compost manure. Green manure are usually from plants. The remain of what? Green plant, fresh green plant material which has not begun to decompose. The remain of fresh green plant material which has not begun to decompose when harvested, that is green manure. Then we have farmyard manure, animals droppings. They are from animals. Animals droppings and as well referred to as farmyard manure. While compost manure are the mixture made by the farmer of plants and animal matter. They are mixture made by farmer of plants and animal matter which decay to add manure to the soil. We have inorganic manure. They are chemical substances which are usually prepared in a form of liquid. Chemical substances which are usually prepared in form of liquid powder, pillet, crystal, which are added to the soil to improve the soil fertility. Example is NPK. NPK fertilizer. We have heard of inorganic manure like fertilizer. They will ask you to apply fertilizer to the soil. It is called NPK. NPK fertilizer consists of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That is N stands for nitrogen, Y P phosphorus, Y we have potassium. NPK fertilizer. That is in example of inorganic manure. I believe we are following with this class, and I believe you have enjoyed the topic soil fertility. Don't forget the meaning of fertility and ways of maintaining soil fertility is very, very important for you to note. We have discussed many of it: crop rotation, we have crop cover cropping, manure and manuring, we have mulching, and others. Let's take note of that. Continuous cropping does not support plant growth. Continuous cropping destroys the soil nutrient. Farmers are not encouraged to practice continuous cropping. Let's take note of that. So for further reading, we should look for a very good textbook, Essentials of Agricultural Science for Junior Secondary by Ernest Chukwudi Ani. It's a very good textbook for us to read through to get this topic vividly. Then we have Agricultural Science for JSS2 by S. Omosekeji. This is a very good textbook for us to read further. Thank you so much. Okay, let's look to the assignment. You are encouraged to discuss 3 ways of fertilizer application. We have different ways of applying fertilizer to the farm or to your crop. Discuss these 3 ways of fertilizer application. Then your response should be on word processing. Then thereafter you send your response or your answer to the email below. That is vera.okeny@greenlandhall.org. Let's take note of that. Very important. vera.okeny@greenlandhall.org. Thank you for being part of this class. I remain Vera Okenye. Bye.